Okay, so we're going to take a look at these next two examples together, 3 and 4, because as you might be noticing, they're a little bit different from the other examples on the page because they are binomials. Binomials. That doesn't mean you're not going to look for a GCF still. You're still looking for a GCF first. So on this first one here, oh, definitely no x's, but 3. I can definitely take a 3 out of a 3 and a 3 out of a 12. So my GCF is a 3, and I'm going to start by taking that out. 12x squared divided by 3 gives me a 4x squared, and negative 3 divided by 3 is just minus 1. Now, you might be thinking that you're done, but you are absolutely not done here. This is super important. These are perfect squares. This is a difference of perfect squares. Diff of PS. So when you're doing this, you're square rooting both of those pieces. What times itself gets me to 4x squared, aka you're square rooting 4x squared to get 2x. 2x times 2x is the only way I can get up to a 4x squared. And the square root of 1 is 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. Therefore, it's a plus 1 and a minus 1. Difference of perfect squares, super, super important to recognize. Now, example 4, similar kind of question here because you can see that we have a binomial. This one is a little different, though, because there is no GCF on here. So I'm skipping that first step and just going right to the differencing of perfect squares. So again, just like last time, when we're perfect squaring, the inverse of a perfect square is to square root. So when I'm square rooting x to the 8th, that gives me x to the 4th. The only way to get to x to the 8th is by doing x to the 4th times x to the 4th. And now this is where kids get their biggest mistake, is that they take this 1296 and instead of square rooting it, they divide it by 2. And they fall for that. The second square root of 1296 is going to be 36. So that would be minus 36 and plus 36. And again, if you don't remember back from 9-4, the reason those signs have to be different, 1 plus, 1 minus, is because A, that's the only way to multiply up to a negative. And B, they need to be the same number because that's the only way to make that middle x term disappear. Negative 36 and positive 36 disappear. But wait, we're not done. If you come over here, these are both perfect squares still. Which means you need to go further. Many of students lose credit on their one test because they don't take this all the way. The negative can go further, but the positive can't. So we're going to make a note of this. This one can't go further because of the positive. But this negative one can. So, I kind of didn't give myself a lot of room here, but it's okay. All right. Sorry, just kidding. Don't apologize. All right, so getting to, I'm just going to take it down here because I ran out of room. My positive one can't go further, so that just gets carried down. Now to deal with my parentheses. X to the 4th. The only way to get to an x to the 4th is by doing x squared times x squared. And that makes sense because if I square root x to the 4th, what do I get? X squared. Fabuloso. Square root of 36 is 6. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. So that right there is our final factored completely answer. And I just want to reiterate that this one can't go further. Even though the x squared is a perfect squared, 6 is not. So that's why that can't go further.